to another episode of the Engineering Manager Community Podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Tejamulia, and today we have a special guest with us, Kovid Reddy, Senior Engineering Manager at Walmart Global Tech. Kovid has an impressive background in engineering leadership. We're featuring him as part of one of our community members today, and we're going to go and dive into his career journey, the challenges he's faced, his recommendations for aspiring leaders, and his vision for the future. Welcome, Kovid, to our podcast.
Thanks, Steven. Excited to be here.
Well, we're excited to have you. I know this is one that I've been looking forward to, learning more about you and your experience. So to get started, for those who get to know you a little bit better, can you tell us how you began your career, the trajectory, and what you do in your current role?
Sure, absolutely. So my journey into software engineering began with passion for technology, and I can remember one of my first projects is as a developer building a full stack application. Believe me, it was a steep learning curve for the one who just graduated with majors in biotechnology. Not much coding experience prior, but I took up the challenge. I stayed up late. I could remember many sleepless nights in the starting, but I thoroughly enjoyed the outcome. But on the bright side at the end, I was thrilled to see my first lines of code going into production at that point of time. But one key takeaway from my start of the career is the importance of continuous learning and problem solving that I want to emphasize. I had a great team then, and which helped me put these different pieces together, like how different technical components interact with each other while building this full stack application, right? It boosted my confidence more, it boosted in my abilities, and I still take those same basic concepts, how to be persistent, how to pay close attention to details. Understanding those basic concepts even helps even today in solving any new problems. So as I progressed in my career, I realized I loved coding, but at the same time, I was equally passionate to understand the bigger picture, understanding how various pieces, different pieces of technology fit together, to create these solutions. I was always curious about it, what is the bigger picture? And that curiosity led me to take more system level responsibilities as I progressed my career, right? That's where it began helping me design and architect large scale applications. And also have expressed my interest in my one-on-ones to my manager that, hey, I'm thinking about this. I'm more curious to know why. I want to take more additional responsibilities. I did put a word in my one-on-ones, and I'm fortunate enough, I'm thankful to my leaders who has given me an opportunity to lead multiple projects, and that's how it started. And one example is project where we were migrating a legacy system, monolithic system, to microservice based architecture. I mean, the stakes were high. I would say the timelines were tight. There was also pressure, to be honest, to get the things done. But a lot of learnings in the while leading projects, how cross-functional collaboration is important, the strategic thinking to get the work done, planning, effective testing, seamless migration strategies. A lot of learnings that I've learned in while leading these projects. And later I've been mentoring few engineers. Then I moved towards mentoring a team, unblocking team from technical challenges, helping them move forward faster. Eventually all of these experiences together, has led me to the current role where I am in Walmart, transforming from an individual contributor to an engineering manager, managing systems, handling millions of users. So that's pretty much about me, how I landed up. But one thing I would say, my trajectory to here is nothing but a stepping block at each point, and where I was able to learn the skills at each level and able to apply the same skills at the next level.
So if you had to, and this is an amazing background, you've had lots of experience, but if you had to share key milestones that got you to your engineering manager leadership position now, what would they have been that other people should also kind of try to emulate?
Sure. So I can some of the key milestones I can remember is like I'll start with my master's degree project as well. Like it's called Mediclick. It was a good challenging project. What the app that we built provides quick guidance on the symptoms to users and also recommends doctors based on the insurance. It's a medical insurance application app. But the reason I'm bringing this example of this app is like when we started the project, we all the team members in our project we were focusing on a similar area, but the breakthrough came when we realized that the strength of the solution lays in different perspectives and expertise of our team. So what we did next is like we leveraged each other's strengths and we focused in the right areas of the project, focusing based on our strength, leveraging them. And what we created is something truly innovative, like more quality, improved usability of the app in the same timeline. So what it taught me in that project is collaboration is more than just working together. It's not just working together, but it's about bringing best in each other to achieve something greater. So that is one of the key lessons, like that I learned from that project. So another defining moment I could think of, like is when I stepped into the leadership role first. So it's like my individual contributor to my EM role, and we were in this middle of a critical project. Things got a little tough. It was super tempting to step in and fix the problem myself. I think many of us can correlate, like when we just move from individual contributor to EM role, we try to attempt to fix things ourselves. But instead, I choose to guide my team through it, encouraging the team to take ownership and solve it together. So this experience is not about doing everything yourself, but it is about mentoring others. How you can foster accountability, how you can trust your team to rise to the challenge. And believe me, you will be impressed with the results, making your team ready for any future challenges too with this. So that is how I think later I took on more responsibilities. I realized, like how important for a leader is also to communicate clearly, and strong ownership is equally important, as an at an EM role. So I had one project where that required seamless collaboration across multiple teams. Like working in a microservice world and in a large organization, it is quite possible. Like there is a cascading effect. There could be a cascading effect on the list of changes that happen when on any single feature release or anything, right? So the project was not about like just getting the job done, but it's also important, like what we are trying to achieve, like how we have felt accountable for the results, like every team member feeling like an owner, taking that accountability, right, into consideration. How cross team collaboration is important is something I have learned. And one example I would say, like when you join as a software engineer role, right, you are told like this is something I've seen in reality, that your leads will tell, like what has to be done and how it has to be done. This is how it can be done as you join as an entry level engineer. But as you go to senior engineer, right, you will get to know, like what has to be done. But how has to be done will be told, but at a high level. But as you go to a staff engineer or a higher level role, what has to be done will be said, but how will not be said. Like we are looking from you to define how, provide those efficient solutions and all. The same applies when you go to engineering manager, like what will be told, but how might not be told. You might need to build a strategy on how it can be done, how we can deliver things. And you further go up the ladder, you have the vision of the company, you have the vision of the organization. What and how may not be told, but that is where you need to make your strategy. You need to see like how you can fulfill it to the vision of the company. So these milestones, like effective collaboration, I would say, like mentoring your team members, accountability, ownership, communication, I think those have been, I think, very fundamental in my path, shaping my path. And I think that those would be something I feel like definitely useful in an EM role.
Yeah, a lot of wise wisdom you learn across your journey and across each milestone that we talked about that really influenced your skills as a leader, and I could tell that. So that's great. Thanks for sharing that, and I think those listening will appreciate getting into a little bit more of the technology background you have. Let's talk a little bit about scalable, reliable, and distributed systems because you've built those before. They're critical in today's tech landscape. Can you provide some insights into architecting these kind of systems and what approach you take to ensure they're effective?
Sure. Yeah, great topic, Steven. Interesting and fascinating topic. It always building scalable, reliable, and distributed systems is always fascinates and always challenging too. But it's not about like building systems that work. It's about creating systems that can grow and adapt to our ever changing demands, right? Like 15 years back, most of our applications were monolithic applications. Now we are saying like we are going to modularization of microservices and all of that. The demands are changing, the scale has been changing, memory has become cheaper. A lot of factors changed, and with that, I think arose the scalable, reliable, distributed systems have become more popular in the last decade and going on. So few principles I would say like are crucial in my experience is like first we need to start understanding the problem statement. That is very essential. Like very often we might dive into solutions without fully understanding the trade-offs of the solution. We might think like there is no one solution fits all, but that's we need to look at the problem statement. We need to thoroughly analyze the requirements, if this solution works for us or not, and we need to make those informed decisions that can balance performance, scalability, and reliability. We might need to think a few years down the line, like what is my user demand going to be, how is the company going to scale up, and will my solution be compatible for the scale up, right? So starting with a clear understanding of the problem statement, I think, is essential. Once we think like, hey, we are good with the problem statement, few examples we can think immediately is like achieving modularity with the microservices. By breaking down the system into smaller independent services, you can scale different parts of your system, not only improving scalability but also enhancing resilience, right? But you know what, however, it comes with its own set of challenges. I'm not saying like it's as simple as like, hey, we scale, we make the system, we build microservices, but we need to understand like how are we taking care of some of the challenges that it brings with it. Like for example, we can take data consistency as an example, right? How are we making consistent information or the data consistent between these different microservices? And then we talk about distributed transactions. How can we ensure the distributed transactions is happening correctly? And this is where I think some of the patterns like event sourcing, domain driven design, and saga pattern, for example, play a crucial role resolving such challenges. Like in short, like event sourcing can help us log series of events, providing that robust audit trail and enabling the system state to be rebuilt in a future point of time. But when you combine with domain driven design, this is something I fell in love after implementing domain driven designs and event sourcing, that I always try to apply these principles even today, which aligns your architecture with the business domain, right? This ensures your system is not just technical sound, but deeply connected to your business needs, right? But it still doesn't solve your distributed transactions problem when you go to microservices. So that is where we need to understand like what is a problem statement, like if you go with the two-phase commits, like a traditional two-phase commits, we might lock up resources or the rows in the DB. It might slow down the system, but what we want to is build it more scalable, right? We want it to be more performant. How can we make the trade-off where you have a distributed transaction but also it is more scalable? So saga patterns, we have like with choreography is something I'm fascinated about, like which breaks down transactions into smaller manageable sets but also with compensating actions, what happens on a failure, but but yeah, we need to properly design those things when we implement saga pattern. Also, like, there's a series of systems. We need to define steps: what happens on a commit, what happens on a failure, what is the compensating transaction. But once we define all of those, and it is I'm sure you'll fall in love, and it's more manageable then. So that flexibility is critical for maintaining, consistency, and without compromising on uh, performance, or making your system more scalable, right? So I will take one more minute, like maybe talking about more on scalability, right? Like,
Please.
yeah. So when we talk about scalability, we talk about horizontal scaling, vertical scaling. We say like, hey, we can add more resources. We'll add more CPU. We'll add more memory, or we will add more pods in the Kubernetes, right? That's all. Everything works, right? It comes with a cost as well. As we add more CPU, as we add more pods, right? Memory is now cheaper. That is okay, I guess. But we need to think about optimizing our architecture. We need to see, like, hey, why are we using more CPU? Why is more memory required? Can we leverage caching? Do we need to optimize any database queries? Where is the bottleneck that requires more resources for the application to run? So those are the areas we need to think, and that will ensure, like, how can build our solutions more efficient, and not only scalable but efficient. One final thing, key takeaway when building this scalable, when microservice based architectures and all, it is monitoring and testing are crucial. Automated testing, without automated testing, without I would suggest, like, build some chaos scenarios in your environment, in your dev or stage, so that you're ready for the future when something like that happens in production, right? And without monitoring and observability, it's difficult to manage something which you cannot see. So that's why monitoring and observability in microservice based environment is more crucial, and these microservices are segregated, and it's more difficult if you don't have these things in place.
Thank you for taking that extra time to explain that. I think it was a great overview and showcases your knowledge, especially when we're working for a company like Walmart or another major corporation, where those processes are very important for everything you build. Now, as you explained that, I came to my mind thinking about those. You did a great job explaining the process, the outline, but there's some challenges that you've seen as you've gone through and building these kind of scalable, reliable, distributed systems. What are some of these challenges that you've faced as you've been trying to implement it, and how did you overcome them?
Sure. Yeah. So, Stephen, I think challenges, I think for an EM role, I think every day, I think I see it as a learning experience, and we see these daily challenges every day. But one experience that stands out, like, when leading a project focused on optimizing critical systems, the challenges that we see is like more than just about tackling technical complexities, but also requires alignment with various dependent teams. It's both technical, it's both collaboration. Sometimes, like, there were moments where the team will feel the weight of the challenges, the solutions that we're problems that we are solving. Some of the times, the initial solutions or the POCs will not work, but as an engineering manager, I think we need to be there supporting the team, solve them together, but see, like, how we can break down the problem into smaller, more manageable parts. Like, and when we are dividing that problem into sub problems, as an EM, I think we need to look at, like, what provides the higher ROI, by solving this. What is the ROI we get, like, by solving this? ROI to the team, ROI to the company, ROI to the organization. So, and taking those smaller problems and solving them will give quick wins for the team, which boosts confidence, but also lays a strong foundation for the teams, saying that, hey, they can solve more problems going forward. For example, if you want to bring up a throughput of a Kafka consumer application, right, we might need to increase the batch size. If there is a write contention on the DB, but we cannot go higher cost, maybe we need to do less writes, and how we can do less writes, and how we can handle concurrency, how we need to see, like, if your application is IO intensive or CPU intensive. So we need to, fundamentally is like, we need to go into the problem. We might, sometimes it is difficult to solve a bigger problem at once, so we might need to phase out in, we might need to roll out in phases and see, like, how we can solve them one by one. So those are the, like, the technical challenges that we see every day, but we need to back our team. We should never give up, and see what more can be done, like challenging ourselves, beating our own records every day. So that's on the technical side. But on the non-technical side, I would say, like, effective communication is very, very important. Like, in any organization, I know information can be easily lost or misunderstood. So when especially working on cross-team projects, uh, cross-team sync calls are important, and to make sure all our stakeholders are on the same page. And some of the times, the problems that we are facing, you'll surprised to see, like, you'll hear those things from different team members where they're providing solutions and they work. And some of the times, the different team members would have already solved the problem, and they would be happy to share, reusability is other thing. So with effective communication, not only we are keeping our stakeholders on the same page, but also, as a team, we are solving this same problem. So with that, I would say, like, like some of the challenges, as you said, like, a lot of times I think this might be correlated to many teams. Like, we wanted to deliver software applications deliverables in time, but most of the times it might not happen in time, right? And like, for example, we take an application, that is, we take one big feature that is where 10 plus teams are involved, and one team has only completed 60% of the features, because there was change in contract by the dependent teams at the last minute. They found that, it's not compatible, it's not efficient, the contract got changed. But this was delaying the major launch. And I would say, like, the principle you might have heard, like, ain't but not either or. What it means is, like, we'll have to see, like, how we can make a trade-off, not to delay the launch date, but also get the features delivered on time. Like, for example, in this case, we could say, like, hey, what, the testing has to be started. Why not start the testing with, the features that have been completed, and we might need to adjust the testing alignment process. But while the first week of testing is happening on the ones that are rolled out or the ready for launch, the other features might get dev done in that time. So we might need to change in some part of alignment in the testing process, but it helps the overall goal, where we can launch the features in time, where we are able to do both with the same trade-off and balance that we are making. So those are, I would say, like, some of the daily challenges that we see, and those are important. But we need to celebrate as we go through this journey. We need to celebrate wins of our team members. These, there will be long and challenging projects, it will take time, but it is very critical to appreciate and acknowledge, recognize your team members efforts, and celebrate those wins, whether it is fixing a critical bug or hitting a performance benchmark. Those acknowledgments will keep your team members motivated. They will keep your momentum going on.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you sharing those. And as part of those, you did mention trusting your team, delegating, inclusion, collaboration. These are all key components of team management. How have you developed and delegated skills, and what strategies do you use to build trust and foster inclusion with your teams? Because it takes a lot of that to accomplish the tasks you just mentioned and the processes. How do you build that trust and foster inclusion with your teams?
Yeah, sure, Steven. Spot on, Steven. I totally believe these are like delegation, trust, and inclusion are, like, like the pillars in the team, for the team to move forward, and also critical for building high performing teams. So like I think I was just quoting, like, one of the example for delegation, like, when I first got into EM role, right? Like, I did not do my things myself, but I had to delegate. Yes, but early in my career, I did struggle with letting go of tasks. I was worried about delivery standards, to be honest, when I initially transferred to this new role. But but also I quickly realized that for the team to grow, I need to trust them with critical responsibilities. A key moment for me is like, like for a high stakes project, I had to delegate a crucial task with a tight deadline, and I had chosen a team member who had shown potential but was still developing their skills, but I still gave the project to them. And but one thing I did also do, giving the project after delegating, is to set clear expectations on the outcome, what is expected, and providing that and gave that space for ownership. But end of the day, it wasn't just completed, but it actually exceeded expectations. So I that's why I strongly believe that with right guidance, giving that space and delegation can lead to, a remarkable outcome that frees up space for you. You can take more responsibilities, and also it gives space for your team members to take up more responsibilities. It's a win-win for it's a growth for everyone in your team and your managers as well. So with that, like I also this one I specifically got from one of my mentor, when I first got into EM role, right? So I had like, like bunch of tasks on my plate, but they were not moving forward. So I did one exercise, like, if I write every day on a notepad with a pending task, few of the tasks would never move from my notepad or the list. They always stay at the bottom of the list. Those are some of the good candidates, perfect candidates for delegation, and where other team members can help contribute and take those forward. You know, so that is one good example that, I did try when in the starting, and even I do this right now. Like, understanding, like, something is piling up and it's not moving on, I'll see like how they can be delegated. So that's about more about delegation. But talking about trust, uh, trust is uh, trust is like, like a very 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 critical. Without trust, it's very difficult to move forward in a team. I say, like, it doesn't mean like, set and forget, but I learned to believe in this principle of, like, trust but verify. From my experience, what this is like, when I say verify, it's not about like micromanagement or anything, but it's about like how you ensure alignment, how you offer support when required, right? How you create this open communications and regular check-ins. Sometimes regular check-ins are crucial, so that, the key is why regular check-ins are crucial, so that you maintain this open dialogue with your team, where they can reach out for guidance, and maybe you can provide feedback. And if you can help course correct, if you think like it's not going in the right path, if it's going in the right path, it's okay, they are on the right path, they're full aware of the situation, they'll take care. But in case if they're not going in the right path, so you can help course correct them. So this approach not only strengthens trust, but also shows the team that you are invested in their success, and also respecting their autonomy, right? So those are like, trusting the team with the work. Trust them, give them the work, believe in them. You know the skills, you do one-on-ones, you're working closely with the team, you know where they are good at, where you can leverage the skills, and give them a project and trust with it, and you'll see amazing results. And if you don't see, that is when, as a manager, we know, like, how to give us feedback, how to bring up the team members, so that they will be happy to take the feedback and, course correct. And then at the end, you will always have a better result. So that, yeah.
Oh, that's
And
great.
yeah.
Go ahead. You had one more. You had a couple more things to say on that.
Okay, I think I have to cover on the inclusion, right? Inclusion is like, you spoke rightly on, like, that's another major pillar. So we need to make sure the work environment that we have makes everyone feels that their voice matters. Like, inclusion, it doesn't mean like, it includes in every part of the work that we do. Like, as an engineer, sometimes you would have seen, like, we get work to do, work to be told like what has to be done. But if you're doing a design meeting, and if you're part of the project, it's equally important that as an engineer you're part of that meeting from the start to understand the why. It's up to the engineer to be participate or not, but you have to include them so that they feel valued on that. And we need to encourage. Some of the times, in the meetings, you see like, quieter team members. So we need to encourage the team members, to share their thoughts. See, like, how diverse opinions are considered, diverse perspectives are considered before your decisions. So you need to make sure that they own the product. You need to ensure that they are owning some piece of product. They are like single thread owner of any task that they're doing, and give them a chance to lead. So that makes them included. Some of the examples, but it has to be in every part of the work that we do. That makes them feel inclusive, and it will give enormous results.
I appreciate you sharing that. And this next question I have for you, I think I know what you're going to say, just because you're such a good engineering manager from what you've said so far. But what have you found to be the most rewarding part of being an engineering manager and that motivates you to keep going?
Yeah, sure. So, what I found most rewarding in my career, like, as an EM, is that opportunity to solve complex problems. That makes real difference to our customers. That keeps me exciting for our business, for our customers, for the team. So, like I said, like, early on as well, I was always curious about the big picture. I continue to have, when we see a problem statement, I continue to ask, like, why are we building this? Why are we doing this? How does it impact the organization? How does it impact the end users or customers, right? That curiosity drives me to dig deeper and not just focus on how, but truly understand why are we doing this. That makes me go forward every day. And one of the other satisfying aspects of my role is, like, doing more research, digging deeper into the data, uncovering solutions with the team. you know so this might be like involve, like, rethinking on how we approach a problem, rethinking. Maybe we need to re-architect our new system, re-architect an existing system to solve for the future needs, right? How can we leverage new technologies? There's a lot of new technologies keep coming up every day. How can we leverage some of those new technologies that can solve our problems? Connecting those dots together and creating a strategy for the team to move faster and creating those efficient solutions is something that motivates me on a technical side every day. um, yeah. So one other important thing, other source of motivation is also mentoring. I would say, like, mentoring others. That is something uniquely rewarding about seeing others grow. Whether it's guiding through them to the technical problem, or supporting them in how they're developing their new skills, or even watching them stepping into their leadership roles themselves. I know mentoring is challenging, but it's also truly rewarding. So that's what inspires me. And also, by mentoring, it's also how we inspire others to reach their full potential is something that keeps me pushing forward every day.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you sharing those. And I thought, especially you with your background experience and how you like working with each other, with other people and growing, the mentoring is a big key for it. Uh, Looking forward, let's talk about the future a little bit. What are some of the emerging technologies or trends in engineering that excite you most? And then, any in the realm of AI that you would want to talk about?
Sure, absolutely. So, when I think of future of software engineering, right? Like last couple of years, or we have seen rise of generative AI is one of the most exciting developments. You know, we have seen AI evolve from, like, not just an helpful tool, but now to a true co-pilot. In all our software development processes. It's fundamentally changing how the way we work, in a positive way, right? Like, what particularly exciting about Gen AI is, like, not just automating the task. It's not about automating tasks. It's enabling our engineers, enabling our people to instead focus more on innovation, giving them time, helping them focus more on solving complex problems instead, right? You can take example of AI powered code assistants. Now I think there are plenty of plugins for different IDEs, where AI can produce, Gen AI can produce code snippets or entire functions or entire test cases, eventually saving time for developers. Again coming to the point, like allowing them to focus on more complex problems, solving more complex problems than the ones, and leveraging some of the AI things. And I would say, like, hey, I would, some of us might counter argue that, saying that the code generation tools may not completely generate a full test case. It's not compiling sometimes, it's not running sometimes. Yes, it might not be 100% perfect, but but that is where we have to see and make a balance how we can make better use of it. Sometimes you have a small util class which has only CPU intensive task, and it can perfectly write a unit test and everything, and it will save your time. And or think of a code assistant, a PR review code assistant. So we suppose you are deploying every day, and we roll out a change, and it has to be code reviewed by a manual person, and generally we might have an SL of 4 hours or a day. So but what if AI is doing a code review, and if it's doing a better job in it, you need not wait for multiple hours to get your code reviewed. It's like an immediate instant, and you get the feedback, you work on it, and you get the changes done and even deployed. So that way, Gen AI is transforming the tech landscape. It's transforming the way we work, helping save time, improving reducing the software development process. It can help enable our business features go live much faster than ever. So those are some of the emerging technologies or that excite me most. And this might be more on the technical side, but even for EMs or even for engineers, right? Like, we can automate Jira stories. Given a PRD, you can get your Jira stories documented, task documented, acceptance criteria documented. Today, I think we have sequence diagrams generated from the code, and documentation is one of the crucial part to for maintain as part of our SDLC processes, right? So yeah, I'm excited how Gen AI will further reshape the world in software engineering. But I know AI is pushing the boundaries already, and I think so we should also see like how we can leverage the AI for our benefits.
That's yeah. Thanks for sharing that. I know I played around with having AI create the user interface. That was pretty interesting too. Um, so let's talk a little bit about your career and future direction. How do you see your role and responsibilities evolving over the next couple of years?
Sure. So as I continue to grow my career, like, my goals are like, primarily centered around driving innovation in the team, and fostering personal growth for the team members, and myself too. So professionally, I'm particularly excited about the potential of the new technologies that are revolutionizing how we work, how we approach problem solving, and how we can enhance like customer experiences. So I'm committed to how we can leverage this technology, how we can push the boundaries of what's possible, while also building high performing teams, where collaboration and creativity are at the forefront. So another one is to, like, my professional goal is to continue to build high performing teams. How we foster that inclusive culture, investing in their growth, how to unlock their full potential of team will continue to be my professional goals in going forward. On a personal level, while on a personal level, I would say, like, like I said, like, starting from my career, continuous learning is always a core value for me. Like, technology keeps changing, I don't think it stays constant ever. So I that's why I believe in continuous learning, and how I would say, like, how we can stay ahead by embracing new skills and knowledge is important, whether it's diving into the new AI advancements or exploring emerging trends, always driven by the desire, to always keep learning and how I can adapt. So if you want me to looking ahead, what I'm looking my role in several ways, like taking more strategic responsibilities, particularly in the intersection of technology and customer experience is something I'm looking at, and how we can bring those innovations to the table. And just not because there are cutting edge solutions doesn't mean, like, there's one solution fits all. but analyzing if that solution is the right solution, and how we can take it move forward, is my focus.
And only a few more questions because we're running out of time here, but I know networking is a crucial aspect of your career. You've been able to get places because of it. What are some of the great topic areas where members of the engineering community could reach out to you for discussion or engagement that you feel like those are great topics you could help them with?
Sure, absolutely. Like, more interested in like, some of the topics that we discussed today, we can go further in depth. One key area is like, building scalable, reliable, and distributed applications. If you're navigating complexities in these systems, if you're looking for insights in how to design them effectively, please feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn or Twitter. I'm passionate about how they play out. I'm also always eager to share the information, and also looking like how is it working for you, and learn from each other's perspectives. So I can share my LinkedIn and Twitter with Steven. Maybe you can help you share with you all. But also I'm passionate about building high performing teams, whether it's again fostering collaboration, driving innovation, how to create a culture that balances productivity with a healthy work life balance. These are the few topics I am eager to discuss, and I strongly believe that teams are the one who drive success.
Well, thank you, Kovid, for sharing your journey and advice with us today. It's been a pleasure to have you on our podcast. Any final recommendations that you want to share with everyone before we end here?
Thanks, Steven. This is great. So, final feedback I could give, like, three tips. I hope it will be helpful. So, for something for the aspiring leaders or the new engineers, as you move into leadership roles, you might realize that you can't do everything yourself. Again, delegation is critical, isn't just about offloading tasks, but it is about empowering your team to take ownership and how they can grow in their roles. And with delegation, you need to see like how you can manage up, manage down, manage your peers, manage your stakeholders. It's critically important. And how to communicate and align with your stakeholders at all levels, right? Like I said, like up, down, across your peers, which will help drive projects forward and a smooth execution. So other one, second tip I would say, like mentorship. Being a mentor, be a mentor to for others, for helping them grow. But equally important, I believe, is like finding a mentor for yourself. So no matter where you are in your career, there's always more to learn. That is what I believe. Mentor can provide you guidance and help in the new perspectives, and they can help you navigate your complexities of leadership. And having a mentor has been instrumental in my own personal growth. So I do believe that while you mentor others, I would strongly recommend having a mentor. And the final one I would suggest a tip is like how you can build a positive team culture, for your impactful leadership. How you can create an environment where open communication is encouraged. How you can make sure your team members are happy to share their ideas. How we can make sure their achievements are getting recognized, right? So fostering that inclusion space, and, having them feel like happy to come to work, and feel motivated, gives the best output. So I know we are short on time, but happy to share more offline, and looking forward to learn from your perspectives as well. What do you think?
Kovid, thank you so much for taking the time to be here from your busy schedule. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for participating in the community and sharing your advice. And I'd also like to thank the listeners for tuning in to this Engineering Manager podcast. If you have enjoyed it, make sure you subscribe, see all the other podcasts we've done. And then Kovid, if you can stay on, appreciate it a little longer. But until next time, for all those listening, we thank you and keep innovating.
Thank you, Steven. It's great to be here.
Thank you.